Good day and welcome to today's edition of the Liberation Gospel. I am your man, Okachuku Okorie. Today I want to talk about the Edo against Biafra, a misplaced priority. Like I've said in my previous talks and lecture on what's going on in our country, Nigeria, the need for education, the need for awareness, the need to help our brothers and sisters from every part of the country to understand the history, to have a sense of history of Nigeria, to know what is at stake, to begin to ask for fundamental questions, to seek for knowledge, because when they know what's transpired in the past, they will be able to assess the future and to have a vision of what should be rightly done for the greater need of the future. So today I'm going to talk about the Edo against Biafra. I'm not saying every Edo is against Biafra, but I know that the majority of them are against Biafra, and Edos have always stood against Igbos, though they are still a minority that are not against Igbos and other people of Biafra. They Anangs, Efix, Ibibio, the Jaws, and our kit and cane. But it is important to understand and to relate a bit more with history so that we can get to understand why there's need for everyone to go on his or her own way and develop at its own pace, because Nigeria is not working, and let us not pretend that it is working, because that's one of the problems that we have always had. Cosmetic approach, politicians and the so-called leaders are instigating us against each other, telling us this and that, whereas they've been feeding fat off our commonwealth while we wallow away in penury, starvation, and poverty. When I say poverty, many people do wallow in abject poverty. So how do we start today? How did the country Nigeria come up? And let us take an incursion into the historical viewpoint. One, I don't know if many of you are aware, but I know you are aware about the 1897 invasion of Benin. Yeah, but most Beninese don't even know their history. I know I was in the Benin Palace. That was in was it 2014? Yeah, I was invited to the palace. I met the Assistant Secretary Clifford Akinzoa, and after that, they took me on a tour of important places in the palace. I had an audience with the Obasogie of Benin. Obasogie of Benin was sort of the political advisor to the Oba. So some of my visit, you can access YouTube. You can check Africa World News on YouTube. You see the videos. I had extensive meetings, discussions. I was taken to the library. I toured the palace with the librarian. He showed me things, information. But unfortunately, I shed tears when I got to the palace. I got to the palace because you can imagine the palace of the Oba of Benin, although he was busy, he was very busy, but with the kind of history that emanated from that place, it was supposed to be busier, and a lot should be happening from there. But unfortunately, it was not. I want At the end of this video, I want you to tag this video, to share this video to all from Edos, especially those against Biafra and against the Igbos and their kit and kin in the Biafra. Why are Edos against Biafra? Why are you against Biafrans? Why are you against the Igbos? What did the Igbos do to you? When I toured around Edo, Benin City to be precise, not only Benin City, I went beyond the Asian areas, Uromi, Ebele, Epoma, Ubiaja, Igueben. I went to all these places, you know, I looked around, I assessed the situation on myself. But I want to ask, why are you against Biafra? What did the Biafrans do to you? I've gotten involved in many debates with the wider Nigerian, and they have issues with Biafra, they have issues with Igbos, but they don't have cogent reason on why they are against Biafrans and Igbos. I keep asking them, why are you against the emergence of Biafra? Okay, let me start first. There was this Benin Empire. The Benin Empire was actually the strongest state before the formation of Nigeria. But unfortunately, many Nigerians don't know that. It was at the fall of Benin Empire that the picture of southern Nigeria, and in fact, the bigger Nigeria, started coming into place. Because for years, the British have been nursing ambitions on dealing with the Benin Empire, because the Benin Empire was really great. At its peak in the 15th century, Ewuare, Oba Ewuare, the Great, started expanding into today's Lagos, even beyond Nigeria. And for your information, the word Oba came from Benin. It is not a Yoruba thing. Recently, we saw the statement from the Oba of Lagos that that royal stool of Lagos is an offshoot from Benin. But because there's a lot of fallacies, because the rulers of Nigeria doesn't want to teach Nigerians history, so you see a lot of things come up. People start distorting history for their own selfishness. Benin was a great kingdom or empire, not kingdom, so to say. The Fulani just came to Nigeria the other day. The Fulani came into Nigeria. They emerged after they defeated the Hausas in the Fulani wars or jihad in 1808 or 1809. Between 1804 to 1809, they defeated the Hausas and formed their caliphate. But before then, the Benin Empire has been very, very strong, and it's expanded. So, but the problem of the Britain was the Benin Empire, because the Benin Empire controlled the seas. They had authority over the seas, and mind you, before then, all trade, all international trade and connections, relationships, I mean, diplomatic relationship were through the waters. It was the slavery was through Atlantic, through the seas. It wasn't flight. Flight hasn't started then. So Benin controlled all these places, and the British, in order for them to control the interland, they had to find a way to get to Benin. And we know colonialism. They were propping up fake treaties. They made many attempts to get into the Benin territory, but they couldn't. And it all, even there were many consuls as British formed, because after slavery, it was the time of legitimate trade of palm oil, because today, southern Nigeria particularly, you know, we live in rainforests, and palm oil is very rich. As at that time, it was the main trade after slavery. Palm oil, ivory, and rubber. And Benin was controlling all these areas. Ijaw. You know, the Ijaws live on the shores of the sea. The Ijaw, the Asian area, the Ishikiri, the Urobo, and even part of Igbo land, the Ika. It was under the authority of the Benin Empire. So finally, after much attempts, the British succeeded in causing problems, whereby there was a consul who forced his way in visiting the Oba during the Igwe festival. That Igwe festival, the Oba of Benin never entertains foreign visitors. But Britain, looking for a way to cause problem and to seize that moment to invade their land, sent Consul Phillips with retinue of aides, and they tried to visit Benin during that period. But some Benin generals, led by their chief security officer then, Okaviebe, waylaid them and beheaded them because they were desecrating the land, and it infuriated the British authorities, and they sent in 1,000 soldiers, and there was this punitive expedition. Benin was invaded and razed to the ground. This was during the time of Oba Ovarawan, son of Adol. This Oba Ovarawan was a very strong and defiant king. The British consuls had to go back to Britain, forging treaties that they signed with the Oba, whereas they didn't sign anything with the Oba. They were looking for a way to invade. Finally, when Phillips and co were beheaded, killed, that was the excuse, and Benin was invaded in 1897 and razed to the ground. The Oba had to escape into the bush or forest and spent 6 months before he came out, surrendering himself. And he was later exiled to Calabar, where he died in 1914. And this is history. This man was one of the greatest, should I say emperors? Yeah, because he was absolute monarch during that time. And this now metamorphosed. That was the beginning of bringing Nigeria together, because the Yoruba Obas were just very easy. It was after the end of the Benin Empire, the end of the authority of Ovarawan Nobaisi, son of Adolu, that the Southern Protectorate came up. Britain has already defeated the Fulanis, who defeated the Hausas. There was this British defeat of the Fulani in 1902 to 1906 or so, and they formed the Northern Protectorate, in which Lord Lugard was in charge. Previously, because Lagos was on the sea coast, and it was, a serious exit to slave trade. So when slave trade ended, they had to seize Lagos immediately for the British authorities to find a way into the hinterlands to what would become of Nigeria. And Lagos was annexed in 1861. Already there was tussle among the rulers. Dosumu was in charge then. So when the British took over, they now supported the authority and planted their own man, Koshoko, who became in charge. From there, they had to get into other Yoruba areas, because already Yorubas were involved in wars. And mind you, Lagos royal stool up to today is an offshoot of the Benin it's an offshoot of the Benin kingdom. But let's leave that to history. So the Benin have always been known as a very stubborn person, especially during the time of Ovarawan Nobaisi. But unfortunately, when Nigeria was amalgamated, they were subjugated and subjected to nothing. Today, who are the Edos? If you place the Oba of Benin and the Sultan of Sokoto, I don't want to say who is bigger, but Nigerians, you can assess things on your own. The Sultan of Sokoto and the Oba of Benin, who is more powerful in Nigeria? So I am asking Edos, why are you against Igbos? Why are you against the people of Biafra? What did the people of the Fulanis? Because they can had a very strong empire, and Britain made sure it's not a majority tribe. They made sure average Edo man going saying that believe in Nigeria, they believe in Nigeria, yet they cannot substantiate what they have benefited from the country. How many Edos president of Nigeria? So these are questions. On easy debates with Midwest during the Nigeria Civil War, invaded. They were marching towards Lagos on Tour, and there was plan which everyone know that they wanted to liberate the Midwest. Was there any shooting in led Biafran command along that route? I don't want to start talking about what Biafran soldiers met when they were retreating from Ore after Victor Banjo had sabotaged that movement to Lagos. Are you aware that when Biafran soldiers were retreating back from Ore, that they were poisoned in Benin? You know, many of them were thirsty and they were demanding for drinks from Edos and Benin, and most of them were poisoned. Do we talk about that? What about when the invading forces were after Biafrans? When Biafrans were retreating, Igbos who had stayed back in families, I mean, Biafran families, not only Igbos, Ijos, Anangs, Ibibios, who had stayed back in Benin City, they were brought out from their hideouts by Benins. I mean, some Benins went ahead pointing houses lived by Igbos and their brothers and sisters, and Nigerian forces summarily shot them before they continued their campaign and went to Asaba and did more heinous damage. So what can any Edo man or woman point out where the Igbos have gone against the Edos? The Edos are known for nationalistic spirit. The Edos historically are known as true Africans. They resisted the British colonists to the core. If not the fiery power of colonists, the Benin Empire wouldn't have fallen. And the Benin Empire was the strongest empire, West Africa, at that time. Okay, juxtapose the Beninese of the Ovoranwen, nobody see. The Benin era of the Okavewas, the era of the Oshodins, the era of the Izomos, the era of the Oloboseres, and today's Benin people. Just suppose that era and today, you know that today, the ones we have today are, let me not go into conclusion. You know that the Beninese we have today are a far cry from their ancestors. Their ancestors we're still studying about them. One of my inspirations as a young guy was Ovorawem Nobais. I remember when I was in the seminary, St. Peter Clever Seminary, Opala. We did a play written by Olarotimi called Ovorawem Nobaisi. And I acted as one of the chiefs. It was before Nollywood even came. We acted it. We went into village. You know, the sets and everything, costumes. It was really nice, and that motivated me to go to Lagos. When I went to Lagos for the first time, I went to the National Museum in search of the picture of Ovorawem Nobais. That was the first time I saw the picture of the man, because I was really happy that, look at this man, he resisted colonists and colonial authorities. He was a true African. Look at what is happening today. The Biafrans, the necessity for a emergence of Biafra is because of the failure of Nigeria. We want to succeed. We want progress. We want development. We want inventions. We want our people to benefit from our God-given talents and brain. All these things that Oyibo do. We can do more than that. I mean, we finally came to this West. We've been in the same classes with them. We surpassed them. They are not better than us. But because we have that defeatist policy, because the wrong people are in government and in power, we now just lose hope. We lose hope as if we can't create, as if we can't prosper, as if we can't fix things. So I'm asking this question. I want you to tag every Edo person you know with this broadcast. Ask them, what is the problem with them? What is the problem with their generation? Why are they against Biafra? Why are they against the Igbos and their brothers? If they want to be in Nigeria, fine. They can go and stay with the Fulani, because I know that their ancestors, the late Ovorawem, will be crying in his grave that his offerings, that today's generation have become so weak, that their governor is ceding grazing land to Fulanis to graze their cattle and chase pupils out of their classrooms for cattle to take place. You saw what happened. The videos are there. We thank the social media for bringing these things to light. So, brothers and sisters, do I start talking about the history of Benin? Many Benin, you don't know your history. I was at the palace and I told everyone, they were marveled at what I was telling them. But I cried when I read that palace. A palace that should be generating millions of dollars every year. Check on internet. After this, you can Google when Admiral Rawson invaded Benin in 1897 and burned down Benin. He looted a lot of thousands of ivory tusks, because Benin was rich then. And there was one thing their ancestors did. They never sold their people to slavery. They were very strong. The British were afraid of the Benin Empire. That was why they mustered a lot of support to make sure that they dealt with them. And the treaty that they brought up, saying that Oba Oforawem signed the treaty, he never signed the treaty. They faked a treaty and said Oba Oforawem signed a treaty. He never signed any treaty. Because from history, that empire has been a very strong empire, an empire that loved its people, and an empire that energized its people. They rebuffed all British incursions and movements into the empire because they controlled trade at that time. So, brothers and sisters, unfortunately, nothing is working. I was in Benin for like 2 weeks. I toured around. There were many Igbos in that area, helping the development of the land. That is why I'm asking the Idos, tell me where Igbos have held you. If you go to the urban market, from the ring road, where property, Igbos buy properties there, develop from the GRA to the new GRA that is still in development. I mean, the new GRA towards the airport road. The Igbos are there, trading, helping the land. Anywhere you see the Igbos, they help to develop the land. And those should tell me where Igbos have held them. If there's any way, any place we have held, we will apologize. But tell me where we have held. So why are you against Biafra? We want to succeed. We want to progress. We want development for our people, not only for our people, even for our neighbors. You see that wherever we go, we get involved in the development of the land. In every part of Nigeria, you will see Igbos developing the land. They want to benefit the land. Our people believe that wherever you domicile, that place is your home. You contribute to make sure that it prospers. Benin is an example. Not only Benin, Ishan land. To my surprise, I went to interior parts of Ishan land. Uromi, I mentioned it earlier. Ebele, Igweben, Epoma. You see Igbos building houses in Tamarian. So it's not about Igbos, you people have built houses there. No, we want to succeed. We want the Republic of Biafra, where we can say yes, our God-given talent will be put to use. Everybody will benefit. The best merit works. Because in Nigeria, merit does not work. The brightest in Nigeria is looking for shortest cut to run away from the country. Because he cannot succeed, whereby somebody wants to get into the higher institution, jump is put up at 400 marks. Somebody who scores 300 over 400 cannot read what he wants to read, but somebody who scores 30 or 50 will read what he wants to read. Then, will the country not be producing mediocres? Look at your governor. Yeah, somebody just mentioned it, Chine here. The governor is an idiot, or any governor who should do that is also an idiotic governor. Should I tell you about you know what this current governor is doing? Obaseki, licking asses, licking Buhari ass. His people are being killed, raped in their farms. Their farms are being taken over. Cattle invading farms, destroying crops, and the governor cannot do anything. And what about fixing things? When we talk about getting things right, you are saying these Igbos, they have come again. What did we do? Did we do anything bad? That's we are saying that things has to go well, things has to get right. I've been to Benin City, I've been to your market, I've been to all the estates. You see my people there developing their land. I was surprised that I went into the urban market. And there are many Igbos there contributing. Government is collecting tax. Oba is collecting his own tax and everything. And these people pay. Even many who are tenants pay their rents. So what did we do to your people? Okay, today in Nigeria, the statistics are there. The Edo women do the prostitute more. I'm not saying that there are no prostitutes from other parts of the country, but statistically, most of them come from Edo, especially in Italy. Why? Do you think these girls want to do prostitution? Do you think any girl most girls will just wake up and start doing prostitution? No. It's because the system is bad. It's because the families are poor. It's because they want to help their family. Go to Benin, you see what I'm talking. Most of the rich people are women. Because they get involved in this trade abroad. They send down returns to help their families, to train the young ones, to raise the standard of living for their families. You see buildings everywhere. This is why there are attendant problems, whereby they're taking all these young girls to juju shrines. They're doing it because they want them to pay. Because out of these vices, greed and many other things will come up. We are not against the donation. My people are not against the donation. We just want to fulfill our God's given destiny. We just want to reach our promised land. We want to showcase what the African man can do. Nothing is impossible. The Bible says with God everything is possible, and we are created in his own image. So this will tell you of what man can do. The gift of man has no bounds. We have the intelligence. We have what it takes to do whatever. So those who think that we cannot do anything are living in a fool's paradise. We can do virtually everything and do more. So I want Edos to begin to think, are you better off in today's Nigeria? The Fulani who came into Nigeria from Guinea in the 18th century are running the states. I'm not even against them running the state, but the problem that they have no blueprint to developing the state. They don't want to develop the place. Their interest is just to Islamize everybody, so that when you are Islamized, when you are under that Islamic domination, because they have mixed religion and culture as a way of life. So everybody now, they'll be running fiefdoms, whereby the emir decides who should be rich in his emirates or not. So I put that question to you. In Nigeria today, the Oba of Benin and the Sultan of Sokoto, who is bigger? Who is more influential? I want you to tag every Edo person you know. Tag this video. Share this video to them. Ask them this question. The Sultan of Sokoto, even the Emir of Kano and Oba of Benin, who is more powerful in the Nigerian context? We know historically, and on a very good day, the Oba of Benin is like a god among his people, because I've been there. I traversed, I went to his palace, I saw everything, and not only that, historically, what he did in the past, and when it comes to resisting on behalf of the African man, the donation is an example. But today, the new generation are weaklings. The new generation wants to be servants. The new generation, they want to be answering sir, to somebody who cannot even fix the country. So So when we talk about we want a Republic of Biafra, we want to fulfill our own destiny, we want to do things, we want to do unthinkable things, they easily go against us over no reason. We've never annexed your land. Tell me where Biafrans, people of Biafra, annexed your land. Or tell me where an Igbo man has annexed your land. Instead, they are paying you. They are contributing to your development. Instead, they've come to your land, supporting you in every way. Peace-loving. We are peace-loving people. It's just that we want to progress. We don't want to be poor. We have no business with poverty. We don't want to be poor. Is it a crime not for someone to decide that he doesn't want to be poor? I mean, that is an inalienable right. That means you don't have anything to do with poverty and you are ready to work hard for it. It's just Nigeria that is corrupting our people because, one, we have the resources. We have what it takes to share things around, to support people, to create an enabling environment for people to thrive. So tell me where we have offended you. Many of you doesn't know history. I want you to go back and check your history. Check the history of the Benin Empire. How the Benin Empire thrived. How they resisted the colonialists. How they said no to the Victorian times. How Rossi invaded the Benin Empire in 1897. How prior to that, from 1888 to 1892, how British tried in various ways to gain access to the rubber plantations in Benin land, to gain access to the ivory and the palm oil markets in which the Benin controlled before the fall of the empire. It was the fall of the empire that brought southern Nigeria together, which eventually resulted into the 1914 amalgamation of the northern and southern protectorate. And it was amalgamated because the north was poor. The north was poor, so they had to use the riches of the south to run the new protectorate, and appointed Lord Lugard. That was why Lord Lugard favored the Fulani more, because he was earlier on the governor of the Northern Protectorate, in which when he came to be running boats, when he was appointed Governor General of both protectorates in 1914, he favored the North. All the constitution during all the colonial constitution up to the independence constitution, all of them were skewed to favor the North. That was why even when the southern Nigerians, when at a young age in his early 20s, Anthony Enahoro moved the motion for independence of Nigeria, the North, led by the Fulani, said no, they are not ready for independence. So they had to do, and Zeke, being a nationalist, being a man who carried everybody along, Zeke carried everybody along. He took everyone as brothers and sisters. In as much as there was politics then, he was very kind enough for his brothers to tell them, okay, let us wait for them to be ready. They were ready. You can imagine a whole Zeke that had his masters at Electors when many people have not even started dreaming of traveling or going to school. Zeke had his masters and taught abroad. Zeke had no powers. Zeke had to be a ceremonial president. But for the sake of peace, for the sake of progress, for the sake of one Nigeria, for the sake of prosperity for all our people, he accepted to take it. Where have we erred Nigeria? I mean, what did the Igbos do? The fallacies, the distortion of history, telling children lies. Your fathers keep telling you lies. Tell me where we wronged. We're talking of 1999, going back to 1966 Constitution, Kaduna and Zogu Constitution. It was on record then that there was jubilation at the queue because there was massive corruption orchestrated by the MPC, Northern People's Congress, led by the Sardauna of Sokoto, Ahmadu Bello, and Tafawa Balewa. And there was a queue. And it was said it's an Igbo queue. But it wasn't an Igbo queue. I mentioned the other day in one of my brokers that they even killed an Igbo officer called, what's his name? The quartermaster general. He was the quartermaster general, Unebe. Unebe was killed. Unebe was an Igbo guy. But Zogu and his colleague killed him. These guys were nationalists. And facts have started emanating that they wanted to hand over power to Awolowo. These guys were idealists because they saw the system was decaying, the system was going down, it was bad. And are you saying it was Igbo coup? Nzogu led Hausa soldiers to Sardauna's house. And he sat in Kaduna. He grew up in Kaduna. Spoke. Most of these Igbo guys that spoke Hausa more than Igbo. So we should stop distorting history in Nigeria. We should stop feeding the young generation lies. This is why everyone has to start explaining to the rest of Nigeria the true situation of things. We can't keep quiet. We can't just fold our arms and say things must continue. And when we agitate for the right things to be done, they say these Igbos have come again. No. It's just that we hate lack of progress. They say, no, relax. It took America 5,000 years for their democracy to mature. Why? So because it took America 5,000 years, we should just fail, and generations will keep dying and dying and dying, and charlatans will be running the states, doing nothing, virtually doing nothing. Buhari has been on sick bed since he has been sick more than being held since he became president. And they're not even ashamed to throw in the towel. He's not ashamed to resign. And when other people resign in another nation, we keep clapping for them. We cannot do that. Is that true spirit of patriotism? This is the most unpatriotic spirit I've ever seen. So you, that is an Edo man or Edo woman, what has Biafra gone to do against you? What wrong have we committed against you? Are you better off in Nigeria? Look at your sisters are doing prostitution. Most girls, especially Edo girls, are doing prostitution. I mean, I'm not here to insult anybody, no, but that is the fact. Go to Italy, go to Holland, go to Austria, go to some of these Western European nations. You see them collecting as part as 20 euros, 10 euros to sleep with someone. Yes, I know some of them get enough money. But at the end of the day, you know what it means? By sleeping with more than 500 men, 1,000 men. Some of them are now embodied by spirits, that is wrong spirits and evil. Because when you are prostituting, of course, you are gathering spirits differently. You're gathering spirits. Do you think they just love prostitution? Many of them were lured. They were trafficked in. Before then, they had to even swear. Some of them have up to 50,000, ranging from 30 to 60,000 euros to pay off on their head. They are taken to shrines because the state doesn't care. Because Nigeria cares less. Because mad people are running the country. They don't even care. whereas you will have resources that should be enough for everyone. But brothers and sisters, we want everyone to go in. So to your tent, oh Israel, it has to be known the meeting, because Nigeria cannot war. I want you to understand that the Biafrans want things on there. It is up to you. If you want to join, if people want to join Fulani, fine, you join them. We want to create our own state and get things right. We know how to get our things right. We know how to treat our people when they fuck up. We have our own system. In as much as there may be squabbles, it doesn't matter. There are squabbles everywhere, even in families, but we know how to make things well. So this is the story. It is unheard of that at the mention of Igbos or Biafra, some Edo start feeling nervous. They start getting irritated. It looks as if the typical Edo person is against Igbos. No, we don't have anything against you. Edo people, we don't have anything against you. We just want to have our own country. It is not a crime. We've studied. The Republic of Biafra can be a confederacy state. It's on mutual respect. My people know how to respect people. They know how to respect non-Igbos. It's just that we want to strive. We don't believe in laziness. We don't want anybody to be lazy. We try to push everyone to work hard, setting a level playing ground, because it is not there in Nigeria. You have joined the rest of Nigeria to fight against. I don't want to start dwelling on the past, because if I start excavating what happened in the past, there will be problem. I mentioned earlier how Biafran soldiers were poisoned when they were returning from Ore during the Nigerian Civil War. Benin's poisoned them. Some Benin's had to take lead Nigerian soldiers, and we are pointing at the houses where there were Biafrans or people of the eastern region, and they were summarily executed. But we've forgiven you. It's just that we want to have our own state. We don't have anything against you. I love Benin history a lot. I like their culture, but unfortunately, the new generation are very weak compared to the days of Oforawem. Nobody compared to the days of those men who tried to protect the incursion of the British colonists. That is today. As we agitate for sitting down, we want a referendum to decide. If it's not a referendum, we sit down as Nigerians and discuss on the fate of the country. And in discussion, we want to opt out. But Nigerians have to sit down and talk. This is where I am headed. Nigerians must sit down. The only people who say we cannot sit down are the Fulanis, because they are holding us to ransom. But they are afraid. Mind you, they are afraid. Because even if there's a conflict, we are not praying for a conflict. The Edo man who fought against Biafra during the last civil war from 1967 to 1970, are you ready to be led to be deceived by the Fulani and his servant Hausa to fight against Biafra? The ones you fought, the last war you fought, what is your benefit? I mean, the last war you fought against the Biafra, what is your benefit? Finally, when victory was ensured against the Biafrans, what did you benefit? Tell me what you benefit. I went to the Oba's palace, man. I nearly shed tears. I said, look, Oba of Benin's palace. Because this is supposed to be a very big monument that foreigners from every walk of life should be. That palace should be, I said millions. It's generating billions in tourist revenue. Look at where we find in Western country. You see, there won't even be monuments. It's just ordinary tar, ordinary roads. You see, especially in this country, you see many Americans who their ancestors were originally Irish, they're coming back. You see, tourist guards will be taking them. They will just come out to a main road and be thinking at this junction at this juncture something happened in 17 something, this and that, 18 something happened. They get millions of euros from these visits. This is what should be of Nigeria, but no, it can't happen in Nigeria. How can it happen in Nigeria? The people running us don't want progress. They will virtually see somebody who will manufacture something and kill off that talent. Nigeria is a talent killer. They will just kill your talent. They will even execute you instead of seeing you manufacture something. In Nigeria, there have been practitioners who manufacture drugs to cure HIV. What happened to them? The Fulani are slaves to some Western forces, and they want us to be slaves to them. No, how can we? It doesn't happen. How can a blind man lead someone with eyes? It doesn't happen. It can never happen. We can never be subjugated. So if you, the Edo man, like your governor has agreed to allocate grazing land to them, whereby from their grazing land, they will now annex your land and be raping your women, and overnight, you know what will happen. If this has happened now, history will repeat itself. So this is my story today. I want you to share this video, send it to, tag all the Edo people you know that have been against Biafra. Ask them what we have done against them. Ask them if we have aired them. Ask them if we have taken their women by force. Ask them if we have invaded their land. Ask them where we are owing them. That is the Republic of Biafra going to be against their prosperity. Even those who want to join us, fine. It's something we are ready to sit down and negotiate and talk. Like brothers and sisters, we are ready for that. The Igbos have always been ready. Our arrogance doesn't reach to the extent of not wanting to sit down to talk. No. Some of you say we are arrogant. We are arrogant because we work hard. And when you work hard, you reap from your hard work. So after working hard, and man, I have a nice house, I have a beautiful woman, I have things of life to enjoy. Why wouldn't I be arrogant about it? I have to enjoy it. It doesn't mean that I don't want to give you. But I worked hard for it. A laborer is due his wages. There's nothing arrogant about it. The Igbo man is arrogant because he knows that he's a hardworking person, and when he's enjoying the fruit of his labor, he tries to enjoy it very well. He enjoys it with pomp and pageantry. So you, the Edo that is against us, search your conscience. Are you better off under the Fulani who is running the country, who is dominating, who is planting, who is who? Who your ancestors will be crying in their grave that look at my people, look at what they have turned to. I remember for a moment nobody saw allowed to me. One of the chiefs at the meetings said, Benin, what has Benin turned to? A chief said, a fierce snake that sleeps. A fierce snake that sleeps. Today, the new generation of Edos, will you say that you are a fierce snake that sleeps? Well, if you are sleeping, you better wake up. It is time to wake up, because we want to move ahead, and we are not owing you. We don't have anything against you. Then you need to go back down memory lane, search your history. The Igbos are not against the Edo nation. We will never be against a donation. That is how I'm ending it today. Tag all your friends that are Edo and let them know the truth. Let them come out of ignorance. Let them know that there are women that are prostituted beyond the Atlantic. Need to stop it. It is not Edo culture. It has never been part of Edo culture. They are doing it because of poverty. They are doing it because they want to help their family. They are doing it because the Nigerian state has been wicked against its citizens. And it has to stop. Thank you for listening to me. I still remain Okachukwu Okori from Owerri.